think of a relatively simple scenario like an IT request process. So maybe a request for the use of some software or a request for a new hardware device or something like that. And maybe you're managing that process with a shared mailbox or just emails to the IT team, like, hey, I want to use this thing, or can you allow me to install this software on my machine or something like that. And typically stuff like that, especially in a larger organization, has to go through some sort of approval process. And then while you're waiting on the approval, you have maybe no idea what's going on. And then you follow up with another email and you say, hey, did you get my request, right? Maybe there wasn't even an acknowledgement. So there's all kinds of problems with that process. And then ultimately, once it's like actually approved and then you can go install it, somebody needs to let you know about that. And somebody probably ought to document the fact that we approved it and that you installed it, right? And there's all of those other follow-on things that need to happen. And so that's a pretty common problem, because if you have an organization with any number of people, you're managing all sorts of different things from all different people because they all do different things. And it would be a lot better if you could track that in a more formal way.
If I think just within Microsoft, we have so many different tools we could leverage. And I think that's the fun aspect of all of this, is there is some room for creativity. So say we want to use SharePoint, that's, we have SharePoint lists. We can add rows in there and create a table that's going to track all of this for us. We could add a status column so we know where things are at a glance. We see everything right there. We could use Microsoft Forms to collect the info from folks. And then maybe we stick it in a SharePoint list. Maybe we're using Azure DevOps. There's so many different ways you could track all of this. My personal favorite, of course, is going to be Dataverse with a model-driven app. And so we can go from something that's free and quick to build all the way up to something that is polished and kind of handles a lot of this process for us and has more automation tied into it and is maybe a more mature solution than something that is, a little faster to build, but it gets our users where they need to be sooner.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a second. Mike has some content already. There's a blog article. I think we've had a podcast about this topic, about the free versus the paid solutions. In this case, if you're doing one request a year, it's probably not, you might not even want to automate this thing, right? But if you're doing 2,000 of these a year, 3,000 of these a year, you're a large organization that has this happening, frequently. Would you even consider SharePoint? Would that be where you would head with it?
I mean, I think in that scenario where you get 1,000 of them, it's kind of a no-brainer. And I would encourage people to go back and watch my video. I did a little math lesson there. Generally speaking, the cost of licenses for a Dataverse connected app are worth it if it's mission critical, or if you're dealing with like thousands of requests. Like, that's kind of a no-brainer. There is a cost associated to how many users you have using the app, but that's pretty simple math that I show you how to do in that video.
Sweet. Okay. So now we know what the business process is. We know that we're going to be using some of the paid tools. So we're going to, talk in Dataverse and some other things. Who wants to take me, on a short walkthrough of the technologies and how it might fit into building a solution to solve this problem?
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the beauty of the Power Platform, is it integrates so seamlessly into all of these Microsoft products. So maybe you're communicating in Teams and you need to reference different things that are in Dataverse. You can have a flow that will post something to someone in Teams, or you're using approvals within Microsoft Power Platform, and you're sending someone an approval, approve, reject, and you can link that back to a Dataverse row, and then you can integrate that into Outlook as well. And so it can tie everything together.
Okay, so your core is the Dataverse, which is where all your data is going to be. You might do some things with Teams to kind of communicate. What about the reporting? I know you guys talked about one of the benefits is being able to report on the data. What tools and how would that look in this solution?
Well, so one of the keys there is that in this scenario, we're talking about Dataverse, which just to point out to everybody, that's a well-structured relational data source.
Yep.
So think of traditional like SQL Server or
Oracle,
something like that, right? You've got some rock solid data that you can pull, and hopefully it's well structured because you got somebody that knows a little bit about what they're doing in putting those tables together. But then you can connect directly to it with a tool like Power BI. And you could publish that Power BI report right up to a workspace that people can access, or you could even embed a report from Power BI in a model-driven app or in a Canvas app, to give users some insight into what's actually going on, or to give admin users the ability to like track how long it takes for something to go through the process, or how many requests are currently in process and how many have been approved and things like that.
You mentioned a Canvas app. Why would I use a Canvas app when I can just use a model app? If I use a Canvas app, I could do it for free. What's the point? What's the value?
Well, so the Canvas app will give you a little bit more ability to be very prescriptive in how you let your users interact with the data and engage with the data. So you can be that way with a model-driven app, but it's a little bit more, it's data-centered. And so you're going to get forms, and they're mobile-friendly. You can access the model-driven app on a mobile device, but the Canvas app is going to give you, like, if you really want a wizard-like ability to guide somebody through the process of filling out a form or a request, it'll give you that capability.
Talk to me about the approvals. We haven't talked about that at all. What is this approval process that maybe before I was sending an email to a person, getting an email back, maybe storing it in a Word document? How does that work today?
So you can use the built-in standard approvals, is what it's called in Power Platform. And so you can send someone an approval request where you have maybe a title and some information about it, and you can send them a link to get more info on this request. And then they have a button they can press, accept or reject. You can customize it as much as you want. And so it's all built into maybe an automation and a process where then you receive their input and then you can process that itself. You could also use something like the tasks table within Dataverse to do this as well. And they can respond on those too.
I think on the approvals front, I would add that it's a standard, tracked, secure, documented method, right? It can't really be tampered with if you do it right, as opposed to your own homegrown, like I'm going to put something in a table, or I'm going to send an email and track a response to an email or something like that. It's a more standard way of creating and tracking approval requests.
Okay, so I think we have painted a picture. So in this new process, instead of an email, they come in through a Canvas app. So this user comes in and they submit a request in a Canvas app. That Canvas app walks them through the things they need to get. They fill out the information. They click submit. It goes into a Dataverse table. That Dataverse table starts to trigger some flows to say, hey, we got a new request. You need to start looking at it. You're the first step in the process. Go do this thing. They start to approve that, manage that, all the way through to where it's either approved or rejected. And then you've got Power BI reports and Teams messaging and some other things going on to kind of orchestrate that process and monitor that process. So Power BI to monitor what's going on, and Teams, et cetera, to go, communicate about that and allow people to kind of collaborate on that process. What are the benefits I get just from that?
So we've closed the loop or closed the holes on a lot of the things, like the process was slow. Nobody knows where my request is, so the black holes are gone. I think the biggest gains, though, are we have all of the data. We're tracking it in a structured relational data store, which is something that we probably didn't have before, either because it was in some free solution or it was in a shared mailbox or in multiple people's mailboxes, right? But now it's in one place where we can actually report on it, quantify the results. So now we can actually measure whether or not the process is getting better. If there's still a problem in the process, we can pretty easily find out where that problem is by simply being able to measure those things.
Okay. We've gotten some efficiency gains. It was obviously better than where we were before. But when we started, AI wasn't available. We didn't have Copilot. We didn't have any of these features. Now that I have Copilot, let's start talking about some of the ways that you might think about applying that to this problem in a way that it kind of takes it to the next level, closes some gaps maybe you didn't think you could close before, or maybe weren't something you thought about previously before you had this technology and this capability.
Yeah, so there's a few areas that I can think of now that we have Copilot, and it's some simple things like instead of the user using a Canvas app, we could give them access to an agent where they could have a conversation and say, I'd really like to
request.
Yeah, I'd really like to use this software. It could help them gather the information to fill out the request because we have a structured form. We have data that we have inputs that we know that the reviewers need. And so they could have a conversation with an agent that could then go retrieve information about that device or that software and attempt to fill the form out for them. Like that would be one area. We can even help with a pre-submission check. Like if they pick a piece of software that we already know about that somebody said, nope, you can't use it, we can be like, hey, no, this is denied right off the bat, right? So those would be
Or
areas
you can submit it to if something's changed, but
right.
it was denied a year ago.
Right. So there are some of those areas that once we have that data that we didn't have before, we can allow Copilot to have access to that data and pre-answer some questions.
How is that different than building into a Canvas app logic that says, oh, somebody put this name of this software in, I'm just going to go look through the things and I'm just going to do it myself. What's the benefit of using AI? Because I can imagine, I'm a developer, I can imagine a scenario where I could develop a solution like that.
Yeah, so I would say first that is possible, and that's something that is already being done, right? So if I'm searching for a piece of software, well, I have a database, a catalog full of software, look it up. Right. And that looks like the one. But then there are going to be other scenarios where, with software, there's always new versions of the software and the EULAs might have changed. So that's something that often gets reviewed. And so there are various requirements there. And that's something that AI can analyze, for example, the documentation about that software or about those devices and tell you if, this is actually different. This is a completely different request because something has changed about that software. Maybe it's a different version. Maybe the documentation for the software that you supplied is different, or that the bot found out there on the internet is different. And that can help in the review process as well to highlight, we think this is different, right? This isn't the same thing.
Okay. What's another area? What's another part of that process that AI is just waiting for AI to kind of transform and help?
You could have some Power BI reports that tell you how long it takes on average to complete the process, but you could have a conversation with an agent that
understands your data,
and you could simply say, how long does it typically take for this to happen? How long did it take in January? How long does it take today, right?
Yeah.
And get those questions in a user-friendly, a conversational way, which is useful.
Yeah. Okay. Should I be looking at every business process like this and say, AI is the best thing, everybody's talking about it, let's go apply it?
I think if you have something that is one-to-one where you have data that you're going to just input into something, you don't need to analyze it, transform it in any way, is AI the tool to leverage there? I don't know. It comes with some cost to it. There's licensing aspects. It depends on how much you use Copilot agents. That, if you use it more, you're going to pay more. And then it's also the information that it hands back to you. Is it quality? Is it trustworthy? Do we have to still review what the AI is handing us? And so we need to figure those things out.
And does that provide a benefit? If I still have to review it anyways, what's the real value? What's the real return on investment?
I think that's the biggest one, is uncertainty or risk. Perceived risk and liability associated with taking action on the responses that you got from the bot. And depending on an IT request process, probably not life or death. I can think of some other scenarios that might be life or death that you might not want to trust the robot.
So let's wrap this up. Obviously, if you have a business process, the first thing you should do is automate it. If you're still working in email and Teams messages, et cetera, there's not really much that the AI is going to do that's transformative to your business.
Not on its own.
You're going to want to put that into Dataverse, into Canvas apps and Power BI, and use all those things. From there, you can add AI in for things like smarter workflows, less manual work to get these things started. Proactive insights, so analyzing something ahead of when you might look at it. Those are all things that we've talked about. And you really shouldn't just assume that the business process is going to benefit from AI, from what you were just saying. You really should look at that and assess whether or not there's going to be value to that. Does that make sense? Did I cover everything that we kind of talked about?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this was fun. It was a great time, change of pace. Mitch isn't running the show this time around on the podcast. Hopefully I did a good job. Mike, Michaela, thank you for the time, and hope everybody enjoyed the podcast.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.